Go to college, get a degree, get rich. We've all heard the golden rule, right? Well, what if it's an absolute lie? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some rigorous data that completely shatters everything we thought we knew about higher education. For decades, we've been sold this idea that a degree is the ultimate equalizer, the guaranteed elevator to wealth. But we're about to look at some cold, hard numbers, proving that for millions of people, this elevator is plummeting straight down.
42%. Let that number sink in for a second. 42% of students didn't buy a better future. They literally bought a ticket to poverty. They actually lost money by going to college. This isn't just some minor rounding error, guys. We are talking about nearly half an entire generation finding themselves worse off after graduation than if they just skipped the lecture halls entirely. The financial return isn't just low, it's deeply negative.
We naturally assume a degree equals guaranteed success. It's drilled into us from childhood, right? Parents, teachers, guidance counselors. But the hard data proves otherwise. For millions, college is a complete financial black hole. They played by the rules, they studied hard, they paid their tuition, and they went broke anyway. Why? Because the modern educational system completely ignores the crushing reality of massive student debt colliding with flatlined wages.
We have to shatter this myth right now. The old math told us a degree guaranteed cash, but the new reality is absolutely brutal. A degree, minus massive tuition, without an inherent baseline of competence, well, that equals a severe financial loss. The formula you were taught is completely broken. It ignores the massive cost of entry, and it ignores the natural capabilities of the individual. And this broken equation is quietly bankrupting an entire generation.
And that brings us to an even bigger deception. I call it the average trap. Universities love to brag about their average graduate salaries, don't they? They print these glossy brochures showing skyrocketing median incomes to justify their massive fees. But averages are a complete lie. They heavily distort reality. A few wildly successful, wealthy alumni completely inflate the average, totally hiding the thousands of graduates at the bottom who are drowning in debt.
Sure, those average salary boosts look phenomenal on paper. A private 5-year degree shows a 112% salary boost. Public degrees show 101%. Technical degrees at 45%. Looks like an absolute win-win, right? Wrong. These percentages are incredibly misleading. They completely ignore the crippling cost of tuition compounding over those years. An impressive percentage boost means literally nothing if your starting salary gets entirely devoured by massive loan payments.
And this perfectly illustrates what the standard data always misses. Economists call it unobserved ability. We can just call it hidden talent. Now, this isn't just raw hustle. It's your inherent cognitive ability, your baseline competence, your natural work ethic, and it exists totally independent of whatever education you received. This is the invisible variable actually dictating your financial survival today. Your degree might be the entry ticket, but your unobserved ability, that's the actual engine driving your career.
To prove this mathematically, researchers needed a perfect testing ground, and they found it in Chile, using decades of incredibly detailed tax and university data. No flawed surveys, just hard facts. Step 1. Track the exact real-world wages of an entire generation. Step 2. Subtract those massive real-world tuition bills. And Step 3 was the absolute breakthrough. Using advanced modeling, they mathematically isolated that hidden talent factor. They compared students with the exact same baseline cognitive abilities, some who went to college, some who didn't. They stripped away all the marketing fluff to find the true financial value of the degree itself. Boom. The result is a total face-slapping reality. After all that grueling studying, the brutal tests, and the massive debt, only 58% of graduates actually saw a positive financial return on their education. A staggering 42% suffered a deeply negative return. And this doesn't just mean they made a little less than they hoped. It means when you factor in the massive tuition and the years of lost wages while sitting in a classroom, the investment totally failed. They are quite literally poor.
Just let this mathematical reality sink in. It goes against every single thing we're taught. For 42% of these students, skipping college entirely would have made them wealthier. No joke. They would have significantly more money in the bank right now if they'd just taken a basic entry-level job straight out of high school. The degree actively destroyed their wealth.
So, how does a trap like this actually work? It basically operates like a rigged lottery. Entrance exams funnel the high-scoring students into high-return degrees like medicine or engineering. But the system aggressively funnels lower-scoring students, often the marginalized ones who lack foundational support, straight into low-quality, low-return programs.
programs that still charge exorbitant tuition but offer zero actual market value. The exact people who need the most help are systemically pushed into the worst financial traps.
Now, at this point, you usually hear the exact same solution from everyone. Make college cheaper. Subsidize the tuition. You'd naturally think making degrees universally cheaper fixes this whole mess, right? It doesn't. Cheaper tuition is a false savior. It's a hugely popular talking point, but it completely ignores the mathematical reality of what actually drives economic success.
The researchers explicitly tested this. They ran a massive simulation, artificially dropping tuition across the entire system by 10%. Everyone expected a massive flood of low-income students to finally enter the universities. But the data showed something entirely different. Total enrollment barely moved, a microscopic 0.94% shift. Why didn't the marginalized students rush in? Because the true barrier wasn't just the upfront price tag. The real barrier was the rigorous entrance exams and a lack of foundational academic prep.
Lowering tuition without structural reform is a complete illusion. Look closely at these takeaways. Cheaper tuition doesn't magically create new access for poor students. Because top universities have strict capacity caps, a blanket discount mostly just shifts wealthy students around. It just subsidizes the kids who are already going to attend anyway. Upfront money is not the primary barrier. Inherent academic capability and unobserved ability dictate the final outcome, not a slight discount on your tuition bill. The game is still fundamentally rigged.
Okay, to be perfectly intellectually honest here, we absolutely have to look at the other side. This rigorous study is a masterpiece of data, but it obviously has some major blind spots. We can't just treat human beings like walking bank accounts, right? Life is infinitely more complex than a cold financial spreadsheet.
The study only measures cold, hard cash. It completely ignores human happiness and job satisfaction. It misses the immense, unquantifiable value of elite networking and lifelong friendships. It doesn't account for long-term health, civic engagement, or generational impacts. Personal growth, discovering your true passion, expanding your worldview. You can't neatly fit those into a regression analysis. Those benefits are incredibly real, even if they explicitly do not pay your rent.
So, the next time you think about higher education, we have to ask the brutal questions. We've stripped away the marketing. We've seen the raw math. When you go to write that massive tuition check, are you actually investing in your future, backed by your own inherent capability? Or are you just funding a deeply ingrained, incredibly expensive illusion? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning those averages, and please, critically evaluate the data before you buy the illusion.